How you guys doing? So I wanted to do basically a book review on Mistborn. Okay. So this story I used to read at work during my little 10-minute breaks. And it's one of those stories where it had my attention for like maybe a month, but it only slightly had my attention, meaning maybe like 30%. Because it was like I read the back of it, and it's like the mist rules the night, the Lord rules, the ruler owns the world. Once a hero arose to save the world, he failed, and it had me picturing this really cool, epic fantasy that would just blow my mind, just blow my socks off. And everybody on YouTube, every booktuber was like, "Oh my gosh, Mistborn! You have to freaking read Mistborn. Mistborn is so amazing. Mistborn will blow your mind, right?" And the thing is, I think it's more has to do with Brandon Sanderson's personality because he's an extremely cool, likable guy. I love this man, bro. I would sit down with this man and talk about Dungeons and Dragons. I would sit down and talk about novels with this man. I would sit down and ask him questions about his life. And I think it's because he's such a likable human being. He's such a great guy, such a nice guy, and he's such a workaholic, and he does his books so quickly with so much, and it makes like a multiple book series so fast. I think that's why people like him so much. But this book, to me personally, just this one, I'm gonna read Way of the Kings. Just give me some time. But just reading this one on my little 10-minute breaks, I kind of was interested at first. I was like, okay, Veen, she's cool, she's interesting, she's a girl, she gets abused. There's like this guy, he's a bully, and it's like they're a bunch of bandits in a city. The city was smoky and cloudy, and it sounded really freaking cool. And then she has this power where she can like low key make people like her more or whatever. And it was like that was keeping me kind of into it because I was like, what are they going to do with this? And they show a couple of examples of her power, and they explain to you what a Mistborn is, and how like there's the different types of metals that they use, and they get all these different types of powers, and a Mistborn is low key like an avatar, basically, but with metal powers, and it's like like the idea is cool, but like the reading it like it gave me a feeling in my belly where I was like just slightly enjoying it because it was like I like Brandon Sanderson so much, and I like the idea of the story so much, and I think the power system is so detailed and complex and interesting that it had me sitting there wanting more. But the story just felt extremely dull, and it just feels extremely slow, and it doesn't really feel like anything's happening, and it feels like we're constantly like rehaving the people talk, sitting down and talking. Um, but I do feel like reading this, I feel like this would be the coolest video game. This feels like an instruction booklet to a video game, like a little pamphlet. Even though it's like what 700 pages, right? Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, it's about 645. Is this? Hold on. Yeah, it's about 643 pages. 44 pages, 43. And it was like I feel like there should have been more action, and it's like there was action in one scene. I remember he was showing the guy, I think it was a coin he was using, and he was doing all this stuff, and it just like how he was explaining it wasn't blowing my mind, I guess. Um, and I think I just was expecting a lot more, and I read like 200 pages, and I was like, I shouldn't only like this 30%. I feel like I should like it like 95% because it sounds cool. But I'll say this. Usually when I read these type of stories, they kind of inspire me to kind of want to make my own version of the story and see how mine would go. Now that doesn't mean that mine would be better. Mine might be dull and boring too. Who knows? My style of how I write, people might not like, and that's perfectly fine. But I don't know. It just felt like there was so much to be desired, and it was like they're trying to what is it? They're trying to do the whole what is it called? Heist thing. Like it talks about the heist, and they're getting like the group for the heist, And I don't know, who knows? Maybe I need to go back and reread it because I got up to like page like 300 and I just was kind of just like meh. Maybe I need to reread it again, read the first 300 pages. But it might just not be for me. But I'm not gonna say that it's a bad story. I think just the way it's written is maybe too simple. Maybe that's the best way to put it. Let me see. You want to get ready, Veen? Doxson said as he passed her door. He wore an overman dress shirt and slacks. He already appeared awake and trim. He paused and looked at her. Yeah, I think maybe it's like maybe it's too straightforward. Would that be a good way to say it? I don't know. Again, I don't want to come off like I'm hating this story because I can see some of the elements of what people like from it. But I do feel like sometimes with these novels, it's like people like the idea of the novel more and they like the author and how kind and cool and chill the author is more than the actual story. And because if this does become a big budget movie or a video game, it's going to be amazing and it's going to get big, There's going to be plenty of people who are going to be like, this story is amazing, excuse me. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, man, this video game story is amazing. Because if this does become a video game on PlayStation 5, I'll buy it. Or if it's a PC game, I'll buy it. Because I feel like as a video game, it would be fire. I feel like it's kind of like if you had like, Zelda as a book, right? I don't feel like Zelda would be as cool as a book. I feel like Zelda is just really cool as a video game because you get to be in the world with Link. And you get to go and try to, find Zelda and defeat Ganondorf or whoever is the big bad in the game, and that just makes you kind of relate more to the character. Even though Link doesn't really necessarily have a personality, he's a silent main character, similar to Mario. Like every once in a while, you hear little emotions from them, little sound effects. They might say one word, etc. But I think that's more of what it is. Hopefully, I'll read Way of Kings and be more into that because I really do love Brandon Sanderson as a person. He's so freaking cool. But this book, it only had my attention like 30%. And again, I didn't read the whole thing. I read like 300 pages. So maybe in the second half, it like blows my mind. So eventually, I will go back and I will read the second half. But that first 300 pages, it just felt like a slog, man. It felt like I was like forcing myself to enjoy it, and like the characters weren't really captivating enough. But again, his style usually is more straightforward, at least from what I've read of his art, of his work. He's more of a straightforward person. He's not like a maxed out detail person. That would be somebody more of like where's the book at? I don't even see the book in here. For the hell? Give me a second. Did I move the book? I swear the book was in here. Maybe it fell behind my counter or whatever. But he did the last couple of Wheel of Time books, and I think that's who I'm more into is Robert Jordan, rest in peace, because his stuff was just a little more detailed. And I just like a lot of details in my novel. I like for my novels to be very detailed. I want to know everything about the characters. I want to know how they feel, how they look. I want to see the world through their eyes, per se. If any of you guys watch this video and have any books like that, please send them my way. I love books with insane, amazing. Think One Piece and Harry Potter. Give me something that's like a mix of those two things. Because I'm a very big world building person. I love a very deep, rich, vast world that has a very deep, vast history that you could sit there and analyze and look through and find different parts of history and understand the world. Similar to a Bible kind of. Stuff like that. Something like Lord of the Rings. And I love a lot of mystical creatures. But I kind of like a mix. I'm kind of like I call anime soft fantasy because I feel like anime is like a soft version of fantasy. It's like they always have fantasy elements in anime, but the stories usually aren't super deep, except for like Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, stuff like that. They're not as deep as a novel. One Piece is like as deep as a novel, but most anime and mangas are not that deep. They're not as deep as a novel. They don't get have a very rich history. You know, One Piece just happens to be one of those manga that they just went crazy with. And Tower of God is also one, but it's a manhwa, I believe is how you say it. But yeah, I want something rich like One Piece. Give me something like that, or like Lord of the Rings, where there's like a Bible, there's like a lot of mystical creatures. Give me something with assassins. You know, give me something with very deep stories. Give me something with deep backstories. I love characters that have very deep backstories that aren't generic. I hate generic backstories where it's just like, oh, a parent died. I need the story. Like, you can do that because I do stuff like that in my own novel, but like I need it to be detailed. I need it to be interesting. Like, why did the parent die? Oh, the parent died because the main character's best friend killed the parent, like killed the dad, and then started dating the mom, and then had a kid, and that kid for some reason was a mutant. Like, I like for the story to be like deep like that. Um, and I don't mind like flashbacks. You know, everybody complains about a lot of flashbacks or a lot of info dumps. I personally don't care. I want to know more about the story. So give me something like that. Malazan is something that I've heard that's as good as that. Um, yeah, bro, this story just wasn't for me. But like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad because reading is subjective. There's somebody that genuinely their minds would have been blown. And I think it's a good book if you're just starting out, if you're like a teenager, if you're like 13, 14. This might blow your freaking mind as a 13, 14 year old. But for me, it didn't. I think maybe I ask for too much in my novels. It could be that because I do be wanting the worlds to be rich like One Piece. I want them to have like a history and be extremely interesting like Harry Potter. Like, I want it to be like, you know, you look at Harry Potter and you look at how amazing it is that J.K. Rowling put her whole soul into Harry Potter. She put everything she could into Harry Potter to the point where she was literally writing it in freaking restaurants while she was watching her child. She was working and writing it. She writing it, thinking about it when she first got the idea on the train, and she had all this stuff just thrown in her head. And I believe that too, because as a writer, I've done that myself. Where just out of nowhere, I get this insane inspiration, and I get all these ideas and all these details, and I get these backstories, and I get these the how the character looks and how the character would feel if you gave him a hug, and how the character's eyes would look, how the character's nose would look, the shape of the nose, the mouth, the teeth, the tongue, you know, their sexual orientations, their likes, their dislikes, their food cravings, you know, people that they're attracted to, how old they are, what species they are, what planet they're from, what backstory they have, who is their father, who's their mother, what hybrid powers they have, because you might go back into their family tree back like 300 years ago, and they're actually like a hybrid of a vampire and a werewolf mixed with a freaking mixed with a dragon or something, you know. But like, that's how my world is. My world is like super fantastical because I wanted a world that was as deep and as vast as One Piece and as magical as Harry Potter, and I feel like there isn't enough of that. You know, I feel like you know, it's like you got to kind of take elements from different places and kind of make your own. You know, because there's just like, it's like I'm expecting like a whole lot, and I don't really want to lower my standards, but I feel like sometimes I should. But I feel like someone will give me like a good recommendation of books to read, and I will find what I'm looking for. But I would like something that's like a mix of like a One Piece, Harry Potter, what else? What else? Oh, there was something else I was thinking of. Or like Discworld mixed with like Discworld. Like, I want the world to be like super big. But I know that like some people are just not gonna write that much to create that world. So I told myself, I was like, I'll create that world myself. Um, but yeah, something very magical, fantastical, and hopefully you guys will love my novel when it comes out. My novel is gonna be freaking huge, and I'm working on it right now. But yeah, Mistborn, it's not a bad book. I don't want to say it's like bad, but I will say the beginning of it that I read, the first 300 pages, excuse me, the first 300 pages were kind of dull. Um, and I had to keep rereading it over and over again to understand what was happening in the novel. Um, if I give it like on a scale of 1 to 10, if I give it like a rating, I would give it like a 4.5 or a 5 out of 10. That's just for me. I do think that people be kind of hyping it up a little way too much. But there is something there. I still would highly recommend reading it because your the way that you take in the story is going to probably be way different than how I took it in, and you might like it 10 times more than I do, and you might find so much out of this story. It might make you visualize the characters way better than I did, because a lot of the time when we read a story, it's the writing style and how we visualize the characters in our own mind. So you might visualize the characters amazingly, and the story might just be way deeper because you visualize the characters really good. An example of this would be like Neon Genesis Evangelion. Even though it's not really a visualization, it's like people put a lot more story into it than there actually is. Does that make sense? Like Neon Genesis Evangelion is not that deep, but people make it deeper because they like it. But yeah, that's my review on Mistborn. I hope you guys like it. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me. Leave any comments in the comment section. Let me know your opinion. I usually always respond to comments unless they're negative. Remember, you guys, you are loved, you are cherished. And if you need a friend or a listening ear, you guys can come and talk to me. Peace and blessings. Love you guys. Take care. All right.